I was halfway through my coffee when my father slid a small velvet box across the brunch table. Inside were house keys, but they weren't for me. They were for my sister, Jessica. Dad said proudly, pushing the keys toward her plate. "This house is yours now. You earned it." Everyone at the table started clapping. My mom wiped tears from her eyes. My uncle raised his mimosa. My sister smiled like she'd just won the lottery. Then Dad turned to me. His expression changed. "You," he said, pointing his fork in my direction, "still need to figure life out." A few relatives laughed. Someone muttered, "He's always been the risky one." I didn't say anything. I just looked at the keys. Then I looked around the restaurant. And I almost smiled, because the building we were sitting in, I owned it. And not just this building. The entire block. But none of them knew that yet. For most of my life, my family believed two things. First, my sister Jessica was the responsible one. Second, I was the mistake. Jessica followed the rules. She stayed close to home, got a safe job, worked as a mortgage processor at a regional bank. Every promotion she got became a family celebration. Cake, champagne, Facebook posts. My parents called her our rock. Then there was me. I moved to another city after college, started businesses, sold one, failed at another, started investing in commercial real estate, which, according to my father, meant playing with debt. Every Thanksgiving was the same. Jessica talked about interest rates and safe investments. The family listened, like she was Warren Buffett. When it was my turn to speak, Dad always asked the same question. "So, are you still flipping buildings?" Flipping. Like I was trading baseball cards. Not buying properties. Not rebuilding businesses. Just flipping. One Christmas I showed photos of a renovated apartment building I'd completed. 6 units, beautiful, brick exterior restored, original, hardwood floors saved. Jessica showed a picture of her new Honda. The family talked about the Honda for 30 minutes. My building got a polite nod. "That seems risky," Mom said. That was the story they believed. Jessica built stability. I chased dreams, and dreams, according to them, always collapse. What my family didn't know was simple. I never stopped working. While they were discussing my risky career, I was studying markets, learning zoning laws, partnering with small investors, buying properties everyone else ignored, old warehouses, mixed-use buildings, abandoned retail spaces. The first building I bought cost $240,000. Everyone told me I was crazy. 6 months later it was worth $600,000. But I didn't tell my family, because I'd learned something. If they believed you were failing, nothing you said could change the story. Success only made them uncomfortable. So I stopped explaining. Instead, I built quietly. 1 building became 3. 3 became 7. 7 became 15. I bought properties nobody wanted, then turned them into something valuable. Coffee shops, boutique, offices, apartments, restaurants, including the restaurant where my family was currently celebrating. Jessica, which they believed belonged to someone else, and that belief was about to crack. Brunch had been my mother's idea. Family announcement. She texted when I arrived. Jessica was glowing. Dad had the velvet box sitting next to his plate. Mom was already emotional. "This house," Dad said proudly, pushing the keys toward Jessica, "is your future." Jessica gasped. "Oh my God, Dad." "It's paid off," he continued. 3 bedrooms. Great neighborhood. The table erupted. Uncles clapped. My cousin filmed it for Instagram. Then my father looked at me and sighed. "You always wanted to take the hard road," he said. "But Jessica understood something you didn't." "What's that?" I asked calmly. He leaned back in his chair. "Security." Jessica nodded. "You just never liked stability." I took another sip of coffee across the restaurant. The manager noticed me. He gave a quick nod. Subtle. respectful. But my father noticed it. Do you know him? He asked, a little. I said. Jessica laughed. You probably met him at the bar last time. The manager started walking toward the table, and suddenly the entire room got very quiet. The manager stopped beside my chair. Good morning, Mr. Carter, he said. My family froze. My father blinked. You know my son? He asked. The manager looked confused. Of course. Then he gestured around the restaurant. He owns the building. Silence. Complete silence. Jessica actually laughed. Wait. What? The manager smiled politely. This entire property belongs to Mr. Carter's company. My father looked at me, then at the manager, then back at me. That's not funny, but the manager wasn't joking, and not just this building, he added. Mr. Carter owns most of this block. Jessica's mimosa glass slipped from her hand. My mother stared at me like she'd never seen me before. Dad's voice dropped. How many buildings? I finally answered. 23. No one spoke. So I added one more sentence. You gave Jessica the keys to a house. I leaned back in my chair. I own the neighborhood. The table fell apart after that. Questions exploded. How? When? Why didn't you tell us? Jessica looked pale. You own this place? I nodded. And the building next door. And the parking structure. And the apartments behind it. My father shook his head. That's impossible. I opened my phone, pulled up my company portfolio, and turned the screen toward him. Property after property. Addresses he recognized. Buildings he'd walked past for years, all under my company. My mother whispered, You built all of this? Yes. Jessica stared at the keys in her hand. Suddenly they didn't look impressive anymore. They looked small. Very small. Brunch ended early. No one finished their food. My father barely spoke. Jessica didn't look at me once outside the restaurant. My uncle pulled me aside. You should have told them, he said. I thought about that. Maybe I could have. But would they have believed me? Or would they have laughed? Like they always did? Success doesn't change people's stories about you. Proof does. And proof is loud. 2 weeks later my father called. First time in months. His voice sounded different. Quieter. I didn't realize. He started. I let him sit in that silence. Because the truth was simple. For years my family believed a story about me. The reckless son, the dreamer, the failure. And they needed that story to stay true, because if it wasn't, then all the times they dismissed me, all the times they ignored my work, all the jokes about my risky life would suddenly look very different. Success doesn't just build wealth, sometimes it exposes people. Jessica got the keys to a house that day, but I walked away with something far more valuable, the freedom of knowing she never needed their approval to build an empire.